Welcome to the Inc. Productivity Tip of the Day. Today's tip. Steve Jobs taught Tim Cook a brilliant skill that few people have. It's a lesson in emotional intelligence. When Steve Jobs invited Tim Cook to join him at Apple in the late 1990s, Cook's closest advisors warned against taking the job. Apple was just coming off years of decline, and Compaq, Cook's employer, seemed to be the safer choice. But Cook ignored that advice. Following his gut, he accepted what he's since described as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn from a creative genius. In a recent interview with the Wall Street Journal, Cook was asked what lessons he learned from his time with Jobs, and one stood out. Emotional intelligence basics. I learned not to be married to my past views, said Cook. Not to be so proud you can't change your mind when you're presented with new evidence. Cook says Jobs changed his mind as quickly as you can snap your fingers, an ability that initially took him aback. Eventually, though, Cook fell in love with this trait. Very few people have that skill, Cook continues, because they get married to their past views. I thought it was a brilliant skill. I'm a big believer in this skill, which is rooted in principles of emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage emotions. I like to call this ability the rule of rethinking. Like Jobs and Cook, I've found it vital for helping me make better decisions at work and at home. We're not the only ones. At a conference a few years ago, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos said that people who are right a lot listen a lot, and they change their mind a lot. He explained that this habit allows smart people to get over fundamental biases. If you don't change your mind frequently, you're going to be wrong a lot, Bezos continued. In Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know, psychologist Adam Grant calls this process thinking like a scientist. How to have an open mind. Thinking like a scientist involves more than just reacting with an open mind, writes Grant. It means being actively open-minded. It requires searching for reasons we might be wrong, not for reasons we might be right, and revising our views based on what we learn. Research supports this view. For example, when psychologists counted eraser marks on the exams of more than 1,500 students, half of those changes were from wrong to right answers. Only a quarter were from right to wrong. That study harmonized with a review of 33 studies that found in each one, the majority of answer changes go from wrong to right, despite the advice you may have received as a student to be extra cautious if you want to change an answer. In another series of studies, people rated how much they knew about topics ranging from why English became the official language of the U.S. to why eating candy affects how kids behave. Afterward, they took a quiz to test their knowledge. How to think like a scientist. Results showed that the more participants thought they had superior knowledge to others, the more they overestimated themselves. This is an example of a cognitive bias known in psychology as the Dunning-Kruger effect. Even more telling is that those same participants who overestimated their knowledge were also less interested in learning and updating that knowledge. How can you train yourself to think like a scientist? When colleagues present a new idea or way of doing things, resist the urge to dismiss it. Instead, first focus on gathering information, then be willing to discuss it thoroughly. Finally, consider testing or piloting the idea on a small scale to gather even more information. Of course, you don't have to do this with every idea, but if you cultivate an open mindset, you'll find that you contribute to a culture that breeds innovation rather than killing it. And by being willing to change your mind, you'll find that you're right more often in the end. That's it from Inc. This article was written by Justin Bariso. You can find more articles from Justin and other thought leaders at Inc.com. And check back each weekday for more tips from Inc.